Hi everyone, I'm Jessica Kellgren-Fozard. As we said, I'm a YouTuber, online content creator, and disability advocate. I make content about all different types of disabilities. I myself have EDS, ADHD, and an unrelated other genetic nerve disability because I'm just really genetically blessed and managed to have two parents who have genetic disabilities. I also make videos about vintage fashion and LGBTQ plus history. Now, generally, people tend to think that I'm an incredibly glamorous human being, but I'm so sorry to tell you it's just not the case. It's really not. 2 weeks ago, I was stood in my kitchen eating a pear, as you do, and there was just a terrible crunch. It was my jaw. My jaw just came off. Sadly, this happens quite a lot. Generally, when I'm eating food I really enjoy, my jaw tends to sublux. Fortunately, I did marry a really wonderful, wonderful woman. I forgot I'm supposed to press the slides. This is me. That's her. And she has a degree in anatomy. Highly recommend. All of you who are single, still single, and have bodies that are a little bit interesting, even those of you who are married, look for someone with an anatomy degree or someone you can push towards one. Saves you all the time. I'll just be lying in bed. Oh, darling, my hip. I don't know what the bone's doing. Help! Don't worry, she's got it. Rolls me right over, crack, back in. Brilliant. Helps all the time. So yeah, she came straight over with the biro. Brilliant trick. For anyone who doesn't know, if the jaws come out, you grab the biro, you put it in there, you roll the biro towards the back and crunch. I told you I wasn't glamorous. It's not nice. It's not great. But it's, everyday life, and at least it keeps our married life interesting and fun. That's one way of looking at it, right? It's always fun. At least that's how I like to look at things. I always like to find the bright spark in all situations. But I used to be the person who could very much fully dislocate my hip at home and just be totally fine with it, totally happy. Oh well, pop it back in. But I could have a paper cut in a hospital bed and I would be a wreck. In tears, shaking, couldn't communicate, can't talk to someone about it. I'm just not okay. Oh my goodness. Oh. Why? Due to a childhood of just not being listened to. I know, wow, childhood medical trauma. Bet you've not heard that one before. Always the ill one. What's wrong now? Another injury? But you were ill last week. Or, are you sure you're not faking it? Are you sure you don't just not want to go to school? I know, we've all been there before. But no, thank you, no, we're not having that. Over the last 3 decades of my life, I have actually learned how to advocate for myself. And now I'm going to share my top tips for how. Sounds like a YouTube video, doesn't it? I didn't actually mean it to sound like that. That's just my life. Top tips. The clicker makes the thing move, hopefully, but it doesn't. Hello. Oh, there we go. Number 1, self-awareness. Number 2, assertiveness. Number 3, utilizing support. So let's go. Number 1, self-awareness. Let's know your body. Okay, gonna get you all to do something with me. I know, group activity. If you're able to still listen with your eyes closed, let's close our eyes, focus on our bodies. Take a moment. start at the base of your neck, send your attention down your spine, send it down your legs, down to your toes. Give your toes a little wiggle, see how they're feeling. Are they feeling good right now? Are they feeling any pain? How are they today? How are your ankles feeling? How are your knees feeling? What about your hips? Are they happy sitting where they are? I like that little head shake. It's good. It's good to think about. Come back up to your shoulders and down to your arms. What's happening right now for you? And come back. That's your body. Knowing your body in a way that no one else can is probably one of the most important things we can possibly do as people who have bodies that don't always fit the definition of bodies in the medical textbook. Yes, we can't always explain our pain in the correct way that pain is supposed to be explained. Sometimes I have to use very interesting language and say, I'm sorry, but right now this pain feels like it's a ball of ice. And my doctor says, I needed a number. What is that? I'm like, it's an ice pick. That's also not a number. I'm like, okay, it's like someone has got a really hot poker and they're trying to take my shoulder blade off with it. And he's like, do you have a problem with numbers? But for me, having the awareness, knowing a little bit about how my body is doing each and every single day, just is a great grounding place of being able to start the conversation and get that little bit of extra help, because no one else knows what it feels like inside, except for me. Next part is knowing your words. You need a disability elevator pitch. It's very difficult, I find, when someone says, you've got a disability, what is it? And I'm like, well, to explain that, I'm going to need probably 20 minutes. Instead, work on 1 or 2 brief sentences that you can very quickly give to someone, and best explain exactly what it is that you need help with right now. I like to start with my weaknesses and my strengths. What are my EDS weaknesses? My body hurts all the time. I dislocate bones I didn't even know went together. Who knew? I'm not very good at pushing buttons. Like, I don't know how people do that. It just doesn't do it for me. I have to get my child to do it. It's a bit tragic. He's 2. But EDS strengths, I've got great skin. I get carded all the time, even for things where they're like, under 16s can't buy this. And I'm like, I'm 34, cool. Excellent at hide and seek. I can curl up my body into really small spaces, including suitcases. Do I need that trick? No, but I've got it. So I've always got a party trick. That was 2 strengths in 1. It's brilliant. Always think of how you've got a positive in your back pocket. Next part of self-awareness is knowing what you can do. I personally have never been a fan of the "you can do anything, disability is a superpower" rhetoric, because for me, as a child, I found that to be the most harmful thing. No, I can't do anything, actually. But thanks for making me feel really bad about it. And B, now I've really pushed myself to do it, and it's really hurting. There's absolutely nothing wrong with having limits. I mean, caveat, know your limits. You need to know your body. You need to know what it can do. You need to know when to say yes and when to say no. Does it suck to say no to things? Yes, it absolutely does. Does it suck more to think of the social retribution? Yes. I had a huge medical crash as a teenager, and I lost a lot of friends due to this kind of secret 3-invite rule. Who knew this was a thing? Turn down 3 invites and you're out of their friendship group forever. And it hurt, yes, but do you know what sucks more? Pushing your body so far beyond its limit that it's medically unsafe. And because you're the one that has to deal with those consequences. I wanted so badly to be a normal university student that I pushed myself into a full-time course, 2 societies and socializing even when I was exhausted, to the point that I became so ill I caught pneumonia. Don't recommend. And I still have to deal with my lungs being subpar. Don't do that. But what did I learn from it? I think instead I'm just going to do the things I really want to do. If I'm going to push myself, let's actually push myself for the stuff I like, not the things I think I should like. Assertiveness. Speak up to people. Oh, the hard part, I know. Actually having those hard conversations to your friends. No, I'm so sorry, I can't come to your French novel-themed wine and cheese tasting night where we all have to stand up in fancy high heels until 2 a.m. and pretend we know what we're talking about. And yes, I could come up with some very kind of clash in my calendar, but actually it's my EDS. It gives me gut issues, so I can't have alcohol or dairy, and my feet hurt if I stand up for too long. And I don't really like your book club, actually. That's not related to EDS. I just think you're very intense. I mean, but also we shouldn't hurt our friends' feelings. So, oh, I'm afraid that's just not possible. No, it's a fantastic statement and it covers everything. Very good, very good. But probably what you're actually asking is great advice for dealing with my friends, Jessica, but I'm sort of afraid of standing up to doctors, which is an understandable fear. But do keep in mind, those of you, I'm so sorry, doctors in the room, but those of you who aren't doctors in the room, doctors are humans. And they're not omnipotent gods. And they're not mind readers who know exactly what we need either. You can actually have a friendly conversation with them. And you can also sometimes find really, really amazing doctors who are really here to help because that's their passion in life. And they do really want to learn more about the topic, and they really, really love being able to help people. And I've had some terrible doctors, and I've had some absolutely amazing doctors. And sometimes my incredible fear of just speaking to someone that's come from a past medical trauma has stopped me from being able to start to build that bridge and build that relationship. And what has helped me is getting to know more doctors and seeing them as human beings. So, hi doctors, hi all of you, hello. Let's talk to more doctors. Assertiveness, speaking up for your body. So when it comes to organizations like workplaces and educational institutions, it can sometimes be easier to speak up for yourself because they will actively ask what you need. But what do you need? When they're asking you to fill out a form saying exactly what type of chair do you need, exactly what type of special writing equipment do you need, it can be incredibly difficult because you might not know. You're going to receive accommodations as a registered disabled student, Great, but what will actually help you? Too often that question is put to you and you're the one doing the heavy lifting. But the answer is that you probably don't know. And one of the best things to do is to ask others around you, to ask the people who also have similar bodies, similar conditions, and ask the people who are running the department. Well, what do you have on offer that might be able to help me in this situation? I'm not going to say they have a secretive catalogue hidden up under the Disability Services desk. That would be amazing though, wouldn't it? If they just went, hey, do you want a catalogue? Have anything? Unfortunately, they don't. But it's great just to feel around and ask your community, and then assert for yourself what it is directly that you need. There's nothing wrong with turning up to an event or your first day at a new place to find an excess of accommodation. So if you think, I don't know, am I asking for too much? No, it's okay to ask for everything you might possibly need. Turn up and be like, I'm just going to have to turn down these 2 things. Those 2 I didn't end up needing, but thank you so much. Because the events where I turn up and they've gone through the entire disability handbook, Jessica, here's the gluten-free menu. Also, we know you're blind in one eye, so here's a menu in Braille, which is very sweet and does occasionally happen. It's overkill, but they're great, and it's much easier on my body the next day. The events where they ask but give me no information about the venue, so I have to try and guess what will be helpful, only to arrive and find out it's up 5 flights of stairs with no lift and no light to try and lip read anyone. I'm sorry, how are we signing in the dark of this party that has no lights and very loud music? Excellent. Well, how was I meant to know to ask for a lift and light bulbs? No one told me light bulbs were an accessible accommodation. Assertiveness. One of the things that trips us up when we are asking for help for our bodies is when we weren't listened to before. When I was 8, I broke my collarbone and got a concussion, a major concussion, on the school playground right before class started for the day. So you can imagine it's about 9 a.m. And this was before I was diagnosed with anything. So as a child, I was just a kind of difficult child who kept getting ill and injured and had a long history of unexplained injuries on my school transcript that didn't make sense to anyone. And rather than getting me checked over by a medic, instead I was made to sit on the naughty chair in the school corridor until I would agree to go back to class. I did not agree. And 6 hours later, at 3 p.m., my mother came to pick me up from school. 6 hours later. As you can imagine, the 6 hours with my broken arm and concussion were pretty traumatic, really. But the main thing that struck me about that day was that every 30 minutes, a teacher or the head teacher would come up to me, stand over me, and say to me again, "Are you ready to come back to class now? Are you ready to come back to class? You're not that injured. You can come back to class now. Put your arm down. It's not broken. Come back to class." And at one point, I became so frustrated and desperate, I suppose, to prove a point that I agreed to go back to class, only to then, when I was told to let my arm go, and the pain was so bad, trigger warning for vomited on my school classroom, which was not what my teacher had been expecting. They told me off for vomiting, as if that was also my choice, and sent me back to the naughty chair, where I was again made to wait until 3 p.m. But the whole day long, I kept thinking, they're wrong. They're telling me something, but I know it's wrong. And even as an 8-year-old, it was such a deep feeling that the adults around me were incorrect, and that I knew something about my body better than they did. And I had used my voice to defend myself. It didn't matter that the teachers hadn't listened. It didn't matter that it had ended pretty badly. I now have one collarbone that's shorter than the other. What mattered was that I had used my voice and stood up for myself. And I felt so immeasurably proud of myself for that. And there was this warmth that settled in my chest and gave me a confidence, because I knew myself. And I took that with me. So then, when I was diagnosed later on, I went on to decide I wanted to take that warmth and take that confidence. And I wanted to mobilize my team and find other people and bring that power together. Which brings us to utilizing support, finding your support network. It doesn't have to be the family that you're born with. It doesn't have to be people you're biologically related to. We say this a lot in the LGBTQ plus community, but your family is what you make it. And I truly believe that family is people that you choose. So, time to mobilize your team. Getting your friends and family on side can look like something small. It's your sister grabbing a plate of food at the family gathering so she can do the standing and you can sit. Or it can be something big, the friend who picks you up at midnight with a bag of snacks and the card game she kind of hardly packed on the way out and then waits for hours in A&E with you. Or it can be something really huge. But it's whatever it is, it's having people there on side with you when you ask, creating a support network, really cluing them in on what it is you need. Thanks for smiling at me, support network, by the way. Finding your people, even with all the love in the world from our support networks, sometimes they can't fully understand what it is. Sometimes they say, oh, wow, oh, that does sound really bad. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Oh, are you okay? And you're like, no, that was just my day. That wasn't a sorry for my moment. That was just this morning. We're just being chill right now. There's something really magical and beautiful about finding and talking to other people who share your conditions, who understand what it's like to walk through the world slightly differently to other people. And can also share tips. Before you waste your money on the latest miracle cure, you can ask around. Say, hey, have you also tried this? Hi, how's this working for you? My goodness, you did that thing and it was really amazing? Brilliant. Let me do that as well. Building a network that supports your self-advocacy enables you to not feel so alone. It doesn't have to be someone who is there for you right in your home. It can be a friend that you speak to online who's on the other side of the world, but will send you that passionate, warm, amazing email that also happens to have a tiny little tip about jars. And you're like, oh, you open jars that way. Oh my God, I can open jars now. What genius. Oh my God. Brilliant. Oh, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know, sorry, yeah, I know 1 minute remaining, but also I have a little electric jar opening thing. For anyone who doesn't use that, it's really excellent. You can find them on Amazon. I really recommend. Just saying. Utilizing support and finding your place online. So maybe I am really biased as a younger millennial and literally a YouTuber, but I love the internet. When I was younger and when I first became officially disabled as a teenager, I didn't really have a community. I didn't have people that I could turn to in my day-to-day life, especially not young people. I didn't have anyone around me that I could say how I was feeling. In fact, I got told not to talk about it because it upset other people. Especially having a genetic problem, it can be very difficult for others to sometimes discuss it. But the beauty of the internet is that we can connect all around the world, and we can connect with people of all ages who are in different stages of their lives, but who really understand what it is that we're going through. And we can see true representation as well. And that is an honestly beautiful thing. Learning to advocate for yourself is never easy, but once you start, you'll find that it gets easier each time. Thank you so much for listening.